Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Plymouth United Church on this Sunday morning. It is the last Sunday of Black History Month, and it is the second Sunday of Lent. How is your Lent going? Well, I hope now that the weather here has warmed up in the Houston area. I'm glad to have you join us this morning for today's service and invite you to begin with me by taking a moment to bring ourselves fully to this time and to this place. Let's begin by opening up the sense of ourselves in our bodily aspect. As we acknowledge what we have been going through over the course of the week, over the course of the month, maybe longer if you would like to reach back that far, as to how your body is managing, where things are settling in your body, and where they are released, and how they get released in your body so that things don't get stuck. And as you move through this sense of your bodily self, let's also bring our minds, our thoughts into our consciousness, knowing that there's a whole lot that can get stuck in our thinking process. We can loop thinking about the same thing over and over and over again, but there's also places in our thoughts where we find that release. There are entrances and exits in our thoughts, just as there are entrances and exits in our bodies. Where are they for you, and how are they working? Are the hinges rusty or sticking, or are things opening and closing pretty well? Becoming aware of where things are stuck and where they're flowing help us to know why we are doing what we're doing and feeling what we're feeling and going through what we're going through in the way that we're going through it. And so while we take stock of our physical selves and our thinking selves, let's take stock of our emotional selves. How and where in your emotions do you feel? And is there a free flow to those feelings? Can they move around? Is something stuck? Where's the entrance and the exits of your feelings? And are they moving in a free-flowing kind of way? And if not, can you give them a little balm of love on those hinges of your physical self, your intellectual self, your emotional self? A little WD-40 of love, if you will, to try to get those hinges of these aspects of your being to move so that you can move within yourself and find not only your center, but find your periphery, find your edges, and be fully inhabiting this person that you are. And as you locate these aspects of yourself physically and intellectually and emotionally, let's bring our consciousness to the spiritual aspect of ourselves. How are you flowing spiritually? Is there any place that you feel stuck? Is there any way that you can imagine unsticking in those particular places? Is there a jam somewhere? Is a hinge frozen that you can put a balm on? Loving on yourself and releasing yourself. Take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe into your body and out of your body. Breathe into your mind and out of your mind. Breathe into your emotions and out of your emotions. Breathe into your spirit and out of your spirit. As we bring ourselves fully to this time and this place, as we co-create this sacred moment together. And now I invite you to join us as we sing together.
wonderful Creator, God of mystery. Thank you for the artist teaching us to see glimpses of the meaning of the commonplace, visions of the holy in each human race. Harmony of ages, God of listening ear, thank you for composers tuning us to hear echoes of the gospel in the songs we sing, sounds of love and longing from the deepest spring. Author of our journey, God of near and far, praise for tale and drama, telling who we are, stripping to the essence, struggles of our day, times of change and conflict when we choose our way. God of truth and beauty, poet of the word, may we be creators by the Spirit stirred, open to your presence in our joy and strife, vessels of the holy coursing through our life.
Please join me in our responsive call to worship. Those who are thirsty, come to the fount that will not dry up.
We bring our thirst here to be quenched.
Those who are weary, Spirit is a ready refuge.
We bring our weariness that we might find rest.
Those who feel lost, come to the one who knows the way.
Lead us by the hand, by our hearts, and by hope.
Hi kids! Thank you for joining us this week for Children's Time. And this week, my kids are joining you. So say hi, kids.
Hi!
This week, we're going to be reading from Black Heroes, 51 Inspiring People from Ancient Africa to Modern Day USA, a Black history book for kids. And this week, we are going to read about George Washington Carver. That is him right here.
Wow.
George Washington Carver was a renowned scientist, inventor, and educator. He was the most prominent African-American scientist of the early 20th century. George Washington Carver was born into slavery in Missouri. While he was an infant, he, a sister, and their mother were kidnapped and sold to a slaveholder in Kentucky. George alone was returned to his former owner in Missouri. Thereafter, George and his other siblings were raised by a slave owner. The family taught George how to read and write, and he would remain dedicated to education despite many obstacles. Black people weren't allowed to attend the nearby school, so every day he traveled nearly 10 miles to school. It's incredible. His determination paid off, and he eventually graduated high school.
10 miles is a lot.
It is. After high school, George began to study botany. Do y'all know what botany means?
No.
What? The study of plants.
The study plant.
And he was the first Black student at Iowa Agricultural College, now called Iowa State University. Do you know what agriculture means? What does it mean?
Farming?
It's farming, that's right. George proved to be a gifted botanist, and many of his teachers encouraged him to continue graduate school. In 1896, he was recruited by prominent African-American leader Booker T. Washington to lead the agricultural department at Tuskegee Institute. George's research showed farmers new ways to keep their soil healthy by planting crops other than cotton, including peanuts. His study transformed the industry. Throughout the South, farmers began to plant and use peanuts in new ways. George became the most well-known scientist in the country. He not only promoted the use of peanuts for agricultural purposes, but he also created several recipes and products that showed how the food source could be successfully used. George's work in botany dramatically increased peanut production in the United States. His work gained respect from politicians and scientists, both at home and abroad. His work continues to influence food, agriculture, and botany fields today. Here's a quote from him. "When you can do the common things of life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world." That's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
If you ask adults, though, about him, and you ask what he did, they are going to tell you that he invented peanut butter. But he didn't invent peanut butter. But he is incredibly gifted and talented, and he invented all kinds of things with peanuts, but not peanut butter. Guess who invented peanuts?
Who?
Peanut butter, sorry. The Incas and the Aztecs. And they took the roasted peanuts and they crushed them, and it created a paste. And that's what peanut butter is. It's a paste made of peanuts. That's true. True story. So now you learned something, a new fact. So let's say a prayer in closing, and y'all repeat after me, okay?
Okay.
Dear God,
Dear God,
thank you for people that do amazing things.
thank you for people that do amazing things.
And please help it inspire us
And please help it inspire us
to do amazing things too.
to do amazing things too.
Amen.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.
Our biblical witness this morning is from Genesis chapter 1, 11 through 12, and then 29 through 31a. God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. God said to the humans, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, and you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed, it was very good.
The contemporary witness this morning is a quote by George Washington Carver. "How do I talk to the flower? Through it I walk to the infinite. And what is the infinite? It is that silent, small force. It isn't the outer physical contact. No, it isn't that. The infinite is not confined in the visible world. It is not in the earthquake, the wind, or the fire. It is that still, small voice that calls up the fairies. Yet when you look out upon God's beautiful world, there it is. When you look onto the heart of a rose, there you experience it. But you can't explain it. There are certain things, often very little things, like the peanut, the little piece of clay, the little flower that cause you to look within. And then you see the soul of things.
My fifth grade history book included the biography of George Washington Carver. He was the only black person in my book. When it was time to pick someone to do a report on, I chose him. I was growing up on a farm. He was helping farmers. My father was doing organic gardening, composting, and crop rotation, which I was sure he got either directly or indirectly from Mr. Carver's work. I was white, and Mr. Carver was black. I knew that was a big deal, but I wasn't exactly sure why. I can't say that the biography in my fifth grade history book explained that part to me. It wasn't very detailed. What I learned was that George Washington Carver was a brilliant scientist who wanted to help farmers work their land better. Oh, and that he made lots of things out of peanuts. The next summer, when my dad asked me what I wanted in my part of the garden, yeah, you guessed it, I wanted peanuts. They were a lot of fun to grow, and they turned out great. Over the years, I've learned more about Mr. Carver. He's become to me an exemplar of innovation, social justice, and faith. There's a whole lot to George Washington Carver that we don't know about or that we didn't know about, and slowly we're learning more and more and more. Devin Springer wrote this about him on whereyourvoicemag.com. He said, Carver was deeply invested in finding alternative crops to cotton, which was vital to the U.S. economy, covered massive swaths of farmland across the U.S., and represented some 75% of the world's supply. Despite the popularity of the cotton crop, Carver was one of the first scientists to warn of an immediate need to transition into alternative crops, both as a social, political, and agricultural remedy for the land. Carver believed that through careful and informed farming practices, newly freed and poor black people could generate profit and an eventual self-sustainability. According to History.com, in 1894, Carver became the first African American to earn a Bachelor of Science degree. In 1896, he earned his Master of Agriculture degree and immediately received several offers, the most attractive of which came from Booker T. Washington, whose last name George would later add to his own, of Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University in Alabama. We can see Mr. Carver's passion for helping black farmers become successful and to help them push against the prejudice and oppression they were experiencing from white farmers and former slaveholders. We've talked about his education, genius, and innovation, but what about his faith? Our contemporary witness was a quote of his. It reads more like a poem. I think it's incredibly beautiful. His passion for social justice and for the created world we live in was steeped in his love of God and his faith. He saw the divine everywhere he looked. He called it the infinite. For Mr. Carver, the infinite was in every person, every plant, and every animal. He was particularly taken by the small things. He says, like the peanut, the little piece of clay, the little flower that cause you to look within, and then you see the soul of things. He saw the soul of things. The soul of the fields, which needed nutrients they could get from crop rotation. The soul of the people working those fields. The soul of each thing produced from that field. Cotton, peanuts, sweet potatoes. The dirt itself held secrets from the Creator which Carver worked hard to reveal. He studied God in everything, from the micro to the macro. Once he said, reading about nature is fine, but if a person walks in the woods and listens carefully, he can learn more than what is in books, for they speak with the voice of God. In his daily walks in nature and his daily prayers, his constant questions about each thing, he not only walked with God, but he walked to God. For him, each moment was an opportunity to discover the infinite. Discovery wasn't his only goal, though. Another of his passions was sharing. He believed that he learned from God so that he could pass on the information, to make lives better, to build relationships with people, and to share his faith. He wanted to teach others to walk to the infinite, just as he was doing. About his prayer life, he said, "My prayers seem to be more of an attitude than anything else. I indulge in very little lip service, but ask the great Creator silently, daily, and often many times a day, to permit me to speak to him through the three great kingdoms of the world which God created, the animal, mineral, and vegetable kingdoms, to understand their relations to each other and our relations to them, and to the great God who made all of us. I ask him daily and often momently to give me wisdom, understanding, and bodily strength to do his will. Hence I am asking and receiving all the time." What a great quote. His faith and his work were intimately entwined. That's a blessing not all of us have. However, we all have the same opportunity to live with intentionality that he did. That's how I understand his idea of walking to the infinite and seeing the soul of creation, to honor all that we see with our attention and respect, to honor each other the same way, to live each moment, and to look for what is sacred in all of it. It definitely takes practice, but once you're in the groove, it can be quite satisfying. Expectations, which frustrate, start to melt away. The normal and mundane start to become more vibrant, maybe not exciting, but certainly more worthy of note as being the building blocks which other things thrive. What we take for granted and ignore becomes more apparent and appreciated. The rooting of our spirit and of our faith in these daily kinds of intentions help us see the soul of everything. We can glimpse through the window of life and get a sense of the expansive nature that is just beyond what can be contained. When we do that, we will find that we truly are walking to the infinite. And with that, I leave you peace.
Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. No more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Down by the riverside, the riverside. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my brother, not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my mother, not my father, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, down by the riverside. It's me, down by heavy load, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield, down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield, down by the riverside, down by the river, down by the river, down by the river. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord.
Please join your hearts with mine in prayer. Holy love, we thank you for your gift of this life and for the way that we understand it and for the mystery that is within it. Help us to seek that infinite that George Washington Carver talked about. Help us to seek beyond the edges while enjoying the edges. Help us to get into this life and all that we can extract from it in the most joyful, generous, compassionate, and wise way. And help us to figure out how we can do that, not only individually, but how we can do that as a community. Small communities, friends banded together, families together, and larger communities like this one here at Plymouth. Show us, oh God, the shape of things and the non-shape of things. Help us to find the center and what's in between the center and the edges, and to explore the edges themselves, and to look into that window of the infinite so that we can deeply appreciate all the gifts of this life, and so that we don't lose track of the moments because we're so far in the future or we're so far in the past. And when it's hard, give us the grace to withstand the pressure and the hope to see the future. We seek to walk not only with you, but to you and within you, toward each other and with each other. And because we are a community that seeks to do this with a sense of purpose and a sense of communal self, let us lift up our words together in this common word of prayer. Open unto me light for my darkness. Open unto me courage for my fear. Open unto me hope for my despair. Open unto me peace for my turmoil. Open unto me joy for my sorrow. Open unto me strength for my weakness. Open unto me wisdom for my confusion. Open unto me forgiveness for my sins. Open unto me tenderness for my toughness. Open unto me love for my hates. Open unto me thyself for myself. Lord, Lord, open unto me.
Do you miss sharing time with your friends at Plymouth? We are hosting fellowship Zoom meetings on Sundays at 10 a.m. On Fridays at 7 p.m., Judy Walden is hosting a small group to discuss Sunday's reflection. You can also join us for Zoom book study on Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. You can find the Zoom meeting information on our Facebook page or in the Thursday's Thoughts newsletters. We would love to connect with you and be the church together. Sunday afternoon service today is canceled. Once things are more settled with the building's repairs, we will resume meeting together in person outside. Speaking of the church building situation, the insurance adjuster, the project manager, and crews have begun their work. We are confident that insurance will cover the damage, minus our deductible, which is a manageable amount. Considering the condition and age of our pipes, now seems the responsible time to replace them. With seed money of $6,000, we are starting a systems upgrade campaign. If we collect enough money, this will also help us upgrade our electrical system, which is also problematic. If you are able to participate in this campaign, please mark your gift, Systems Upgrade Campaign. If you would like to be added to the Thursday's Thoughts newsletter, please email Melanie at melanie@PlymouthUnited.org. I would just like to say, and I'm off the book here, the church needs a lot of work, but Pastor Mack is doing an excellent job coordinating everything, and I feel much more relieved now that I'm here and I've spoken to him. So if you have any issues, call Mack and he will help you feel better. I think we're going to make it with all of our help together and with God's blessing.
Each week we collect 2 offerings. One is for the church, which goes into our general fund for the running of the church and our ministries. The second is the loose offering, which is sent to a designated charity, which changes each week. Our loose offering for today will go to Beauty After Bruises, which is an organization dedicated to bringing light back into the eyes of survivors of childhood trauma by providing them with access to and funding for therapeutic and inpatient care, while creating professional and public awareness for complex PTSD and dissociative trauma disorders. If you would like to give to our general fund or to the loose offering, or both, you can use bill pay from your bank, send us a check, or use PayPal. As always, thank you for supporting Plymouth and the ministries of the loose offering.
Introducing something new, a simpler way to give to Plymouth. Just text PUC Give to 77977 and you will receive a text back with a link to PushPay where you can complete your gift. Once in PushPay, you can enter your amount and then designate your gift under the Fund drop-down, where you can choose from the options of General Fund for My Giving, Loose Offering for our weekly missions and outreach, Other, or our new campaign for Systems Upgrade. Choose to give one time or make it a recurring gift. Lastly, you can pay directly from your bank account or by card. And that's it! For a new super simple way to give to Plymouth, just text PUC Give to 77977.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God for all that love has done. Creator, Christ and Spirit one. Amen.
Please join me in our responsive offertory prayer. Hear us, O God,
We seek to do justice
to love kindness,
and to walk humbly with each other,
multiply what is before you like the loaves and the fishes.
so needs can be met
and
joy fulfilled. Amen.
Please join us as we sing together.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. God, empower me to be a witness for you, acting boldly in your name, seeking justice where there is hurting, offering hope where there is pain. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
And now, my friends, it's time to go from this place to whatever it is that you have next. I thank you for joining me today, co-creating this sacred moment with me. I'm grateful that in the midst of all of this, we have this way of sharing time together and of being in each other's presence and of drawing the presence of God near to us. So whatever it is that you have next, hopefully it's something wonderful, but if it's something challenging, we go with each other in all of those places, and we share with each other the good and the bad. So go forth in the blessing not only of God, but also of knowing that you are the dwelling place of the divine. Your spirit, your soul is the dwelling place of the infinite in and of itself. That when you walk to the infinite, we are walking to something deep and wonderful and amazing, but also we are taking our finite self of body, mind, and emotion closer and closer to our own soul's infinitude. So go forth, knowing that you hold within you the seed of all that is good and compassionate and generous. Go forth knowing that we do so in community, in peace, and as peacemakers.